Mutiso?
I want to do my Ray-Bans. Can I get some?
You know where your glasses?
Look, I want to get some
Yeah, sure.
for like 3 minutes.
What do you mean?
Meta Ray-Ban.
Oh, you want? These are.
the ones with the camera.
Yeah.
Ebu?
How long do they record?
Maximum 3 minutes.
Oh, they do 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's only 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not even enough for sex, yeah?
For you, it's like 3 rounds.
How much are these?
Like 48K.
Babe, why do you keep wearing your glasses during sex?
I have some crazy POV landing videos.
I just wish it was longer.
It's actually talking to me. I can hear it talking.
Yeah, maybe they ask you if it's 100% or something. Things like that.
I can talk to it.
Yeah.
This is all going in the podcast, by the way. Show me the last recorded.
we're live.
Show me the last recorded clip of Eric.
No, that's not. It's not VR.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't replay back, yeah?
No.
I'm not going to see some stuff that I regret.
No. So, but I have some fire approach.
There's a dark joke I was going to say.
No pun intended. I want to open a channel just for my cockpit videos because I have some fire content with this POV.
It's like, imagine the 9/11 guys have this.
On my Airman episode, I was asking guys their favorite pilot, and I'm like, is it Denzel in Flight, Sully? And then I was like, Mohammed Atta. Man, I had to cut that out because
there's something about guys dressed like me and pilots. Yeah.
It's blinking.
I can't see it blinking. Yeah, now it's blinking.
Yeah. Now I'm recording.
Actually, sometimes when I get nervous, not really nervous, I ask guests what they're carrying in their bag. What's in your man bag, Eric?
Bro, I get nervous every time before I start shooting. In fact, when my producer is counting me in the last 3 seconds, the nerves literally.
His producer, I don't think you would have known, but it's a channel called Club Kiboko. It was like a kids show that used to come up every Saturday. So these guys do it like 3, 2, 1, you're live.
So you
it's
clap.
like
The reason you clap is what you know where the sound starts in post. Yeah.
For us guys, we're like, wait, we're starting now, eh?
But no,
but this is I want all this to go in the podcast, bro.
Cool.
Including the Twin Tower jokes.
So asking what's in my man.
Yeah. So normally guests come with bags and man bags. What do you normally carry?
Greatest invention, man.
By the way, these things.
Greatest invention, man.
Can I be honest with you?
Nowadays, you have to carry a charger. You need to carry a power bank.
Show me what's inside.
You need to carry your shades. So I had this was in there. Of course, my phone, my power bank.
Power bank. Yes.
Yeah. And then I have my Meta Ray-Bans. Shout out Mark. Mark, I'm looking for a sponsorship.
Let me ask you. What was the purpose of this? Just to
they're charging. Like when you put these inside, they're charging, and then you can charge the case.
No. Like what I mean is, why did you buy them? Like to record footage?
Yeah, for cockpit content mainly.
Okay. How much are these for?
Equivalent of 48K here.
Okay.
Got my hairbrush. You don't know, man.
Need hairbrush.
Yes, a hairbrush, bro.
Okay.
I'm a gurale, man.
And then,
of course, my wallet. So imagine carrying all of this in your pants, bro.
Pants, yeah.
It doesn't work, man. So greatest invention, I say, I got it for what, 1,500 bob at LC Waikiki.
Bro, when I went to Thailand.
These as well, of course.
Yeah, let me see those.
JBL.
Do you guys in the cockpit listen to this and ignore us?
No, us guys we use both. If I want to tune out, there's aviation specific headsets that we use.
Right.
That are able to cut out the moment I start getting a transmission from ATC, air traffic control, it cuts out the music.
The music.
Or
That's
podcast.
pretty dope.
Yeah.
So on that bag, in fact, when I went to Thailand, I noticed my boy Pape. He carries this all the time, and I was giving him my the Osmo, my wallet, this is like, why don't we just go and buy you? And I had to get over the notion that it's a man purse, which is associated with LGBTQ, which is associated with being very feminine.
Speaking of that, man, your short clip about Thailand did really well on my channel, man.
How many views are we on?
118,000.
Hey-o.
Yeah.
That's what the power.
Ladyboy.
Muslim man and a lady boy. That's what you get. You get viral worthy content. But I got me one of these, bro. So
I'm gonna put these away. I've got in my 3 minutes.
That's fine.
I know that I'm not an aspiring artist. I'm not high. I'm not drunk. I don't smoke weed.
But we have Mr. Captain. Actually, it's not Mr. Captain. That doesn't go. It's Captain Eric Mutiso.
First of all, I'm a first officer, which is I'm second in command. Captain is a captain, so captain is
Nikulize, like when you become a captain, the reason I'm asking you this is because doctors normally go and get their bank cards changed to write doctor blah blah blah.
yeah, even for us captains.
So utaweka kwa debit card.
It's an official title. Captain is captain.
Okay.
I had a former current member of parliament, former captain, a guy for Kasarani, Ronald Karauri.
Yes.
He goes by captain till today. That's his title. The same way if you're a doctor, even when you stop practicing, you remain doctor so and so.
Right, so the captain basically then just stays.
Yeah.
So what's your title right now?
I'm a first officer.
First officer. Yeah, I like that. First officer.
Yeah.
Eric Mutiso, reporting for duty. Was this piloting thing everything you wanted to do, like from early?
Yeah. I come from a family where we have a couple of aviators, my uncles,
Okay.
my dad's younger brothers. So growing up, of course, my dad being like the eldest, and there's a bit of an age gap between him and his brother. So they used to come by the house, to visit, say what's up to us as we're kids. And their swagger to me was just too much, man. They had swagger, nice cars, they had the shades. There's an excitement.
There was an excitement to it, right? So
Yeah.
do you think that stemmed from a very early age?
Kabisa. And then, of course, somewhat earlier on, as a kid, I realized I'm not your conventional guy by way of, I would not do well with a desk job.
Yeah, bro.
The prospect of a desk job really haunted me. I think I'm an artist at heart, but there was not too many avenues in terms of, am I going to become a rapper? Am I
Right,
going to become so I think piloting was also a way for me to get a nice living, and a nice societal respect,
Yes.
and have an adventure every day.
That's true. In fact, what I want to do is I want to give a bit of retrospective here. Eric and I actually went to the same school, and we first met when you joined Saints in Form 1.
Yeah.
Those days were very interesting, bro.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself now repeating that life, like the decisions you made, or just wanting to go back in time and just see what it was like? Do you ever find yourself in that position?
I think I'm a spiritual guy.
Yeah.
And I think we end up places based on some spiritual destiny of sorts. So when I look back to the way St. Mary's, the 4 years I was there, first of all, to think and just imagine it was just 4 years, right? Yeah. However, how formative it was for us, and how it literally shaped who we are today.
By the way.
And most Saints people tend to be successful. I mean, look at you and I, look at most of our colleagues are doing all right in life,
Yeah, I would agree. I think Saints imprints a certain DNA on you.
Yeah. So,
and you can tell a Saints guy from 5 minutes within a conversation. It's just very weird. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, you have that.
But that's again, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but that's a spiritual thing. I can identify, there's a guy I was flying with sometime, captain. He's a Strath guy. He never told me he's a Strath guy. I identified he's a Strath guy. I could just tell you're a Strath guy.
The way he dresses, that tight is like that.
There was just something about him that spoke. So I think where we go to school, there's a spiritual thing about it.
Yeah. Speaking of Strath, when you maliza kindergarten, nursery, and then you're going to interview at different schools, I had gone to Strath, I'd gone to Saints, and I'd gone to Consolata. So I didn't get into any of the two schools. I had gotten into Consolata. Strath, one of the questions they were asking us as kids were very complicated. I was just winging.
Is it high school or class 1?
This is class 1, bro. So my kuzos got Strath, and Saints, my cousin also got there. My uncle, I think, ended up talking to I think it was Mr. Washira at the time, saying, Sasa, you've given my son this, my nephew also wants, so why don't you let him come to Saints? That's how I ended up at Saints. Otherwise, we'd have been together in
Consolata. Also a very good school, I must say. I had some very good, fond memories there. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Eric. We lost touch, and you obviously reconnected after the Coffee Pump podcast came out. You saw a clip, and you reached out, which I appreciate. And we talked about that on Eric's podcast, which we'll link in the description. But tell me, after Saints, we sort of lost touch. What happened? You graduate from Form 4. Where did you end up going?
So a lot happened. First of all, let me start. Thanks for inviting me, bro.
No worries, bro.
Coffee Pump podcast, man. I'm a huge fan.
Cheers.
I really believe in what Sajid is doing, man. I love the fact that you're a content creator, fire content, and also a career man. I really identify with that. That's why I reached out. It was a way of reconnecting with you.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure to be here, man.
I
Shout out to
appreciate
the
that.
whole team, guys behind the camera, Vish. It's a pleasure.
There's another guy, Kim, we normally abuse. He's in church today. He wanted to meet you.
Man, it's a real pleasure. So yeah,
Anytime, bro.
what happened is by the time I was in St. Mary's, of course, I was already going through quite a heavy thing at the time, something that usually does not happen to people at that age. I was struggling with alcoholism by the time I was like 15,
Where did it start from? Like, do you think it was tied to an experience where you just needed it to get over something? Was there something involved emotionally triggering that need and want for alcohol? Where did it sort of come from?
So they say hindsight is 20/20. Now that I look back, there was a lot of problems at home. My parents weren't getting along. Right now they're happily married. Everything's so they weathered the storm. But at the time there were some serious issues.
Yeah.
And for me growing up until that point, everything was almost picket fence kind of family setup where everything was. So it brought quite some shock into my whole outlook on life, and I didn't know how to deal with the emotions. And it's not that I turned to alcohol; it just coincided with the fact that we were at an age where we experiment.
Right. It becomes an escape then.
Yeah. So when I experimented with alcohol at the time, and I felt that kind of reprieve from the emotions, the negative emotions attached from that circumstance, I remember feeling like, wow, this. I quickly just latched on to booze, and from that time I drank almost at every opportunity I had.
So how old were you when you started? 15? 15 was like Form 1.
Yeah.
And so it started very early, eh?
Very early.
Yeah, and we talked about this on your podcast. The first sip of alcohol I had was my guy.
Hey, man.
And then Mohammed Jaffa ended up getting you guys suspended.
Yeah.
Do you remember Mohammed Jaffa?
Do I remember Mohammed Jaffa? The name rings a bell.
He was like a skinny guy. He was always hunchback. Like, he was just skin and bones, bro.
I don't remember Mohammed Jaffa. But also to tie to that, when I said hindsight is 20/20, I think school conventionally really bored me also. And I didn't know where to take all this usani that I have inside me. Bio, all that stuff was boring to me, man. And it's not that I was not academically able, man. Whenever I tried, I could easily top. And I say that with all humility.
Like just the least bit of effort, and you would end up getting enough grades to go by. So if you look at it retrospectively, and you're like, if I had actually made a genuine effort, would I have been at the top of the class?
And in later in life, when I've had to apply myself academically, I always scored exceptionally well. So I think also that's the boredom of that 844.
To pay a compliment, by the way, because when we spoke after all those years, I think your vernacular, the way you carry yourself, the way you put your thoughts together and embellish them and then portray that to the camera, on and off, you're the same person. There's no hidden meaning, there's no hidden agenda. You are who you are.
Thank you for that, man.
And I think what I was most impressed by is that when I grow up, I want to be like you. in the sense that, Eric Yani, just even at our dinner, bro, you carry yourself so well. Sometimes it's very hard to articulate what you're thinking, and it's a skill. And seeing how far you had come, what you'd accomplished, what you wanted to do, we had those tying moments where like, okay, we seem like we're on a similar trajectory. And I think you're ahead in quite a lot of facets, which I can learn from as well. Just your diction, the way you articulate, the way you speak, bro. No, let me. I want to pay that compliment. Not all podcasts. There are a bunch of dipshits out there, and I've told you they're dipshits. But you genuinely have a case where it seems like you're a very studied person. So, I mean, did you, like your English, the words you use, the experiences, the stories that you consume, it's not by someone who just sits and flies a plane. It's someone who's very well exposed to the world.
So I'll credit my parents for this, because when it comes to being able to articulate myself, and of course this is limited and specific to English, because that's what I speak well. I would not be, if we throw Swahili in the works, it's not going to be the same experience. I used to wait for every Thursday, man, the Time magazine, Newsweek, and I'd read those things top to bottom, because it was like a glimpse into the world that's beyond our boundaries, right? And of course, we also got to travel.
Yes.
I used to go on vacation, and our vacations were very budgeted. It was not like some Migos affair where my dad was just blowing tunes. No, it was very sacrificial. So, but the whole thing was to expose us to something beyond our borders and let us dream.
Which is very important.
Yeah, which if I do have kids, which I'm planning to do, I'd also like to give them such an experience. Travel, it really opens your mind. Yeah, and I love information. Sometimes to my own detriment. Like I really consume a lot of information from many sources. Like it's not limited to science, it's not limited to aviation. I like philosophy.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that also keeps me going. I wouldn't say I'm an avid reader anymore, but I'm a
Podcaster? I mean, you listen to a lot of podcasts.
Podcast consumer. In fact, 99% of my entertainment comes by way of podcast.
If you'll allow me to brown nose you kidogo more, this guy is always on time, by the way. It's just weird. Vish knows I'm never on time. And I think maybe that's just a trait. But you're always 30 minutes at any place or an hour before you get, like, we and the reason I'm bringing this up, the first time we met for dinner, our dinner was planned for 7, right? And you got there at 6. I'm like, bro, watch out with the unnecessary pressure over here. And then I ended up delaying because of the call. Then eventually we met. And this goes back to the point where you were consuming a podcast. You're like, I've got podcasts loaded up.
Yeah.
Is that how you consume content now?
Yes. First of all, the reason I keep time sana, of course, my dad also instilled that in us. He said, if you're on time, you're already ahead of the game.
I like that.
And then my career, there is no excuse for not being on time.
Yeah, pilots, man.
Absolutely.
If
In
your
fact,
pilot is late.
for us, literally, if my flight is at 1, my on time is at 12. There's nothing like, and there's no excuses. There's nothing like traffic. There's nothing like you didn't keep of traffic. It's unheard of in our industry, right?
Right.
Think of how vexed you get when a flight is delayed. Imagine if you're told that the pilot was late. It never happens. It's always other reasons. So.
Right. Okay. And now tying back to, if tying back to now Saints, right? So that experience, obviously alcohol comes into play. You managed to graduate. Grades were decent, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But what happened after Saints? Where did you go? Where did Eric disappear to?
So after Saints, after St. Mary's, after grades came out, you're still deciding what to do. Of course, I already knew I wanted to be a pilot, right? So my uncle helped me find an air school at Nairobi Wilson Airport, Nairobi flight training. That's where I started my career. That was 2010, I think in February. I got my student pilot license and embarked on this new thing. Fell in love with it immediately. Like the moment I flew, I knew this is what I want to do.
Okay.
But by this point, of course, the addiction was already, it's a very, it compounds over time and it's a progressive disease. It gets worse with time. So even as I started pursuing my flying, of course, I'm young. I think I'm 19 or 20 at the time. I meet other guys at the flight school, make new friends. There's a big culture around turn up or drinking in the air school and in aviation in general. So I quickly kind of got in with the wrong crowd. So where this proverbial thing for, wow, this guy is outwardly gifted. The instructors like, wow, this guy is talented, of course, the drinking took over. So instead of a PPL should take about 6 months, took me a year because I was just joking around. And somewhere in there was a rehab stint because by the time I was 19, because remember I started at 15. By the time I was 19, I was drinking like properly alcoholically every day.
So let me ask you.
Every single day without fail.
What were you consuming on a daily basis?
I was a Vodo guy. Vodo, I always say Vodo is straight to the point. I'm not trying to tell myself, this is aged 25 years. There's no jolly well.
You'd amka and you'd have it with something or you just need it throughout the day.
So at least at that point, what I'd do is I'd try get the day started and you cannot go and fly drunk. And of course, I was also cognizant of that. So I'd show up, maybe do class, do a flight, but immediately after, every day. And
were you tipsy? Were you drunk? Or
drunk.
Every day?
Yeah. And of course, because it's not like I had some unlimited stash of money. So I had to adapt. So my drinking environment versus my day environment were very different. So during the day, I'm a pilot, a student pilot at Wilson flying. At night, I'm in Tao in a place called Feelers, drinking with carjackers, When I look back at that time, I'm like, those guys could have finished me. The time I used to park the car, like I was. They probably didn't believe. You know, like when if a gazelle walks itself to lions,
Yes.
so the lions will be like, "Hey,
What's going on?
who
over
said
here?
not to say it?"
Yani, so this was now after high school. You're 19.
Yeah,
You've done your license, but you're still drinking, right?
yeah.
When did that realization come? Yani, I have to change. Something has to change.
Wow, it was a long journey because the first time I went to rehab, I've always shared I was 19. I was too young to understand. I was the youngest guy. And here I am in a place where people are telling me that you have to stop forever. And before that, my whole idea of rehab was like, come and we
Tulia kidogo.
teach you how to drink maturely,
Yes.
But the message is you're an addict. You've crossed the threshold of normal use. This is substance abuse.
Sorry to cut you short. Who recommended rehab? Was it a self-realization that you need to go, or was it someone telling you, boss?
So what happened was I always make fun of it because it changed my whole life trajectory. So one night I'm really drunk. I knew I had a problem. You're quite aware that you look around and you're like, okay, why is it some days Sajid can say I'm not drinking today, yet me I have to drink. And if you're not drinking, I'll find someone else. If Sajid is not drinking, I'll find Vish. If Vish is not drinking, I'll find X and Y.
Yeah.
So I knew I had a problem. So one day I got really, really wasted, and I went home drunk as a skunk, and I need help. And I kind of confessed. And of course, people around me who loved me had kind of realized that I had a problem. So they were happy to hear that. In as much as I was saying it drunk, they were pretty pleased. So, of course, the necessary arrangements were made. And by the time now, the next day when you're sober, you're like, did I just ask for help?
It's in those moments where you actually, I guess the walls break down and this sea of waves of emotion just come through.
That changed my life forever because the moment you have contact with an institution by way of rehab, your life is changed. Your life is changed. You can never drink in peace post that ever again.
You're right.
Yeah.
Now you fika rehab.
Yeah.
What ends up happening then? Do you I think you realize you have a problem, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. Did it work at that first stint with rehab, or
the wherewithal of a 19-year-old? And remember, alcohol also retards your advancement from a emotional maturity standpoint. So when I look back at 19, I was probably thinking like a 16-year-old,
Right.
So I didn't have the ability to take it as seriously as I should. So
because you're not yet fully developed.
It's not hitting home. It's not hitting home that, bro, you've entered the realm of institution at 19 because of substance abuse disorder and you can't control. It wasn't hitting home the way it should. So I think I lasted 3 months after rehab sober, and then I relapsed. And of course, now that began a whole other cycle of things because even your family don't want to say it's you the problem. It's your environment, it's your friends, it's your
Was that true though? Was it your environment? Was it the people you were hanging out with?
For an alcoholic, it doesn't matter where you are. In fact, there's a running joke.
Everywhere is a party.
Yeah, there's a running joke actually. So and so pulled a geographical, thinking it'll help. Let me move there. Yeah. And I've lived everywhere in Nairobi, which is later. I'll come back to that. I've lived literally everywhere. And a lot of times I was trying to escape. Hey, guy, no, I can't live here. Hey, turn up is too much. As soon as I move somewhere else, I'll just find the guys who turn up immediately. So I relapsed. My parents were like, yo, this is not your... They thought it was about my environment. So I went to SA for flight school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was now the beginning of another chapter.
And now, so within SA, obviously I want to establish, because I know you went back to rehab, right? Was that much later on?
Several.
Bro, you went several times?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it was just one more time. Fuck, I didn't know that.
I went more than 5 times, bro.
And this was now over the course of your aviation career?
In a span of from 19 to about 29. In and out 7-8 times.
So talk to me now about that point where you were just like, enough is enough.
So what happened was, this not long ago. I'm on my almost on my 5th year now sober.
Yeah.
Right. So just the other day, I had been sober for about 2 years. Everything was looking up. Everything on the up and up. I got a fantastic job. I'm about to travel for training. And just before we traveled for training, I relapsed. And
that first sip of drink, was it just like,
whoa? So
what caused that?
forgetting that I'm an addict. It's been 2 years, man.
I can have one.
Look at what I've done, man. Look at what I've accomplished, man. I've caught up with guys. I've even overtaken some guys. Look at the job I've gotten, man. If I can do all this, surely I can control a drink.
Yes. What's just one?
So I went to, that time I lived on Kiambu Road. So I drove to a Quick Mart, somewhere not far from there. I bought a boti, I bought a chaser. I sat in the car for 1 hour, just doing all the potentialities. Okay.
You were literally contemplating.
I'm like, if I drink, 8 times, bro, it backfired. There's no time it's worked. You've tried it with the money. You've tried using your intellect. It never works. It always ends up in the same exact place. So I tried simulating all the potentialities, and eventually, like the devil on my left side won, and I took a sip. And I remember the moment I felt tipsy. Storm is over. I knew, like, this doesn't end well. I barely ended up making my trip. I ended up being let go of that employment because I ruined the opportunity. I almost died. When I went to Malaysia, I had a near-death experience. I had to be put in an ambulance.
Did you talk about that? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I had a seizure. So when you drink for like 3 weeks straight, minimum rest, minimum food, minimum water, at some point your brain starts to starve of actual oxygen and the necessary things to keep you going. So this one day, we've come from a session, training session. I'm kicking ass while drunk, and I'm outperforming some of the guys I'm there with. But of course, my hands are trembling. I remember doing an exam and having to like hold my hand like this. But we come out shortly after, I collapse. Like I literally collapsed. And the last thing I remember is waking up with my phone in my mouth. The instructor had to put the phone in my mouth so I don't swallow my tongue. Because of course I was rolling back and I was doing the Harlem Shake, So near death. And then next thing I wake up, it's an ambulance. Next thing I wake up, it's a hospital. Next thing I wake up, your training has been terminated. Next thing I wake up, I'm being told I'm going back. I came back to Kenya. Of course, what has gotten to my family, and straight to rehab from the airport. No, hakuna story mbili, not going home. Landed my 8th stint. To my 8th. So between that first time and this last time, so much happened. So many lost opportunities, so many broken dreams, so much disappointment, so much heartache. But on the flip side, so much life experience.
Don't say lost opportunity. Yeah. It's either win or learn. That's it.
Yes.
Either win or learn.
So much life experience, like so much so that I'd never take it back. When I look at where I am and how I am today, and I say that with all considerations to my family because they got hurt along the way, but how it molded me, I'd never take it back. So that's the point I made a decision. I was in Limuru. I mean, from 5-star living, to some place in Limuru.
A rehab facility.
Yeah, and rehab facilities are fancy word. In Kenya, do we have any facilities? We have rehab centers. This one I was taken to is quite gangster. Shout out Tom, fantastic guy. A lot of goodwill, but I was put in VIP because it's case a pilot is coming from Malaysia. I'm like, hey, make a VIP, and bro, VIP. There were 4 of us, cramped
in one room.
Yeah, and that was VIP. The other rooms were you're like those guys. A rehab facility, so a room like this, they can fit 3-4 double deckers, and you live like this. Yeah.
Can you talk about what happens in rehab, right? Like, let's say someone has these issues. If you go to rehab, what sort of the day-to-day look like when you're there?
So they try to run an AA-based program, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
So what happens is you wake up. So they're trying to get you back integrated to normal living, normal societal structures. That is, you wake up and you have something to do. Typically you're up by, in a normal setting, you'll be up by 6, but here you're up by 7. You go for something called morning meditation. You read some literature from the AA book. reflect. It's all recovery based, addiction. So guys are in there for alcohol. Some guys it's marijuana. Some guys it's a plethora of things. Then after that you have, of course, breakfast. Breakfast sounds like a normal thing, but for alcoholics, it reaches a point. There's no meal structure in your life. You eat when you remember when you're dying. Like, oh, I'm not eating for 4 days. You have breakfast, you do something. So you'll have class for like an hour. You'll have group therapy.
And
You'll have one-on-one therapy.
What are you doing in class?
You're learning about the disease. You're learning about addiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a full day structured
Yeah.
towards making you 100% in terms of your psychology, your biology,
Yeah.
and it's like a job.
It's like I always say I never went to boarding school, but I've been to boarding school.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
So typically a stint is really 3 months. Long time.
3 months in Limuru, right?
Cold. And I traveled, the time I went to Malaysia, it was summer. So all my suitcase was just shorts, shirts.
Did they take away your phone? Your
No
you're not
phone.
in touch with anything.
So what happens is they let you have your phone month 2 and not have it. You have access to a couple of calls, I think once or twice a week. You can call 1 or 2 people.
Who did you call first?
My current wife and not that I've had another wife. My wife and my brother. Yeah. But my brother wasn't, he was not picking. He was not, I tried to call my bro. He came once, but by the time it's your 8th time in a rehab,
That relationship was strained.
all relationships are strained, man. No one wants your story, man. Yeah, and rightfully so.
So the first person you called was your wife.
Wife, yeah.
And did you break down? What was it? What were your emotions going through that period, man?
I mean, it's like you're in jail and you're listening to your wife. You're it's bittersweet because you're happy to hear her voice and talk and catch up, but bitter in that you feel like you've disappointed. Like I should be out there leading this relationship, but I'm in here. So my wife at the time was still completing her law school. She was at the tail end of her law school, and here I am stressing her. So, but
She was patient with you. She was there for you
very
when you
loving.
needed.
She came to visit me a couple of times, all the way from, at the time she was still under her parents' care, so coming to Limuru undercover to see me
That's all.
touched my heart. So when I talked about making that decision, remember when I told you on my platform, the first time she came to see me, when she went, I promised myself and I promised God, I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm done ruining my own life. I'm done. I know now I'm an addict. There's no time pint or booze or substance will ever work. It doesn't matter where I reach in life. I made a promise to God and I made a promise to my wife that this is it. And I've not looked back since.
How old were you, Eric, at that time?
I was 29 turning 30. Yeah.
That's a lot. This podcast has become very heavy. Man.
I didn't mean to make it heavy.
No, but I appreciate it. The thing is, I think I'm feeling these emotions is because I'm almost like, you can tell by my eyes, it's just because your friend that I lost in touch with, and when we sort of got back in touch, obviously I took you as an elder brother, and I'm happy you got through it. I'm happy you persevered.
Thank you, man.
Switching gears now, right? My mzee has always been someone that's fascinated by aviation. His story was, at 16, he got his license. He was flying in a Cessna at Wilson. Fortunately, circumstances with the family cut short. He was told, you can't do it. We can't afford to do it. Your cousins need to do it instead. Who, by the way, didn't turn out to be aviation pilots. They fucked up and fucked around. So Mzee always has that passion and need and want to know how would it have been, right? And I'm sure there are a lot of people watching this that also want to pursue the career path you're doing. If we could talk about that, right? Within the industry of Kenya, if you're looking at doing aviation, so what are the steps to go for? Where should they start?
So typically, aviation starts with what you get is a student pilot license,
Okay.
an SPL as it's called. So the requirements for an SPL are you do a medical just to check certain parameters, mainly eyesight, hearing.
So what if you wear glasses?
Glasses are fine. There's a range. There's some glasses that, the glasses I'm talking about, like the extremely thick ones.
Thick ones,
right?
yeah. Urkel. Yeah.
So there's a range. many pilots, numerous pilots fly with glasses.
Yeah.
I mean, demystify that. It's very much okay. So they're not looking for, it's not you're not going to fly an F5 if it's civil aviation. They're not looking for, they're just looking for general clean bill of health.
Yes.
So there's that. You do a medical and you go to Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. You fill the requisite paperwork, and nowadays it's very efficient. Within 3 days, you have your SPL.
Okay.
Once you have an SPL, you go to an approved training organization.
Yeah.
Which in Kenya tends to be at Nairobi Wilson.
Because there are quite a few over there, right?
Yes. So,
yeah.
there are some that are, of course, more reputable than others. So it depends on, a lot of times people get hoodwinked by cheaper prices. So I'd always say, when you're looking for a flight school, if you know anyone who's looking for a flight school, talk to someone like me.
Yes.
I don't want to market anyone specifically on air, but talk to me off air and I can tell you where to go and where not to go.
Is it expensive to, like, so that process, you go, you learn about a plane, you need to get hours under your wing, right? And it's based per hour.
Yes.
What are the ranges you're looking at spending?
Nowadays about, what's the dollar rate?
It's 120, 130, 129, 130?
We're looking at about $200 per hour.
Jesus Christ. And how many hours do you need to do?
For a private pilot license, which is 40 hours, you can do the math.
Yeah.
And together with the hours, so it's a multifaceted course. So as you're doing your hours, you're also doing ground school, what we call ground school.
And what does that involve?
Ground school is now the theory side of aviation.
That seems complicated, bro. Like, the thing is, like, when you posted pictures of you flying in the cockpit, pressing buttons over here.
I'll put it this way. Once, it's like if I took you back to 97 and I showed you a smartphone, at first it looked like,
What is this?
But within no time, like for me, I don't look at that place like, buttons, oh my God. Oh. No, and that's just because of training and experience.
Yeah.
So it's a lot simpler than you'd imagine.
Yes.
But I can imagine as a non-aviator, it may look a bit more complex than that.
Yeah.
So there are 8 subjects. There's meteorology. Of course, you have to understand how weather works because weather is one of our biggest hazards in flying. There's navigation. You need to know how to get where you're going. There's air law. You need to know the rules of the air. There's operational procedures. That's the implementation of the law itself. There's principles of flight. How does an aircraft actually get into the air? What's the physics around
behind it?
air?
Yeah.
There's human factors. That's now the susceptibility, the limitations of a human being. Yeah. When it comes to illusions and stuff like that, we have radio telephony. That's how
you communicate
to ATC. And I've left one out. It's not coming to me. I think I'll remember as we go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once you go through that process and you get your private license, what's the next step now to go down the path you're doing? What do you have to do then? Which has now become a commercial pilot.
I think important to say before that is for aspiring pilots. It's not everyone wants to be a commercial pilot.
Yeah.
Sajid may be a billionaire and he wants to fly, but he doesn't want to be a commercial pilot. So you can go the private pilot path as a hobbyist. You just do your private pilot license. If you want to advance to the bigger aircraft, all you add to that is an instrument rating.
What is that? Instrument rating?
An instrument rating is an endorsement to fly without reference to outside. So there's 2 kinds of flying that we do. There's visual flight rules, VFR, and there's instrument flight rules. You can imagine how limiting it would be if we only flew based on what we can see and where we can see.
Yeah, with weather and stuff.
And night factor all of that. So some geniuses somewhere came up with instrument flying 60 years ago. Yeah. So flying with your instrument flying rules, you're flying without reference to outside. Us guys, when we fly, especially in the airline environment, the visual maneuver is the takeoff and the landing. Everything else, by the time we're at 1,000 feet, we're instrument flying. We're flying in the cockpit. We're not flying outside.
Because you can't, basically. Yeah.
Yes. So if you're the hobbyist, you do your PPL, add an instrument flight rating, and then add like a multi-engine rating. That's you're flying on
different
aircraft
calibers of
with more than one engine. Because remember, all through training, you're flying a single engine aircraft. Now then there's commercial route. Once you've done 40 hours, you need an extra 160 hours of flight time under your belt. And then coupled with that, of course, is the theory side. So after you've done your PPL exams, you've done your 40 hours, you've done your general flight test, you've passed, you apply to KCA, they give you a PPL. if you want to continue CPL, using that PPL, you continue the school or apply to a school. And now you do what we call hour building. So you're just flying towards accumulating the 200.
Those hours
200
under your
of
belt.
total time. Now that's the most fun part of flight school, because with a PPL, Sajid can fly Vish around. Vish can come with his girlfriend and fly her around. Right? It's the most fun part of flight school. You're actually able to fly
Right.
specific aircraft, of course, not a Boeing, Cessna 175 seater, Piper. So you'll be flying across maybe to Mara, Costo. A lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that. Most people have a lot of fun with that. So once you have 160 and you've done your 8 subjects again, exams.
So subjects, Konini.
Because so the difference, what happens in the theory, same subjects, now they go more in depth. Because now for commercial operations, you need to know more.
There's a lot more.
When I fly you to coast, you hope that I know certain things. You don't want to imagine that I know certain things.
Right.
Towards my competency, right? So once you do that, you finish your total of 200 hours, you've passed your exams, you have a commercial pilot license. Once you have a commercial pilot license, the commercial word there allows you to actually work.
Okay.
You can now you can fly for remuneration.
And so what's the first job you get? Like let's say you got your commercial pilot license. What's the first entry? Like what's your role then when you enter?
So your first, can I give the Kenyan context?
Yes, please.
So in Kenya, the typical path is either you become a flight instructor, so you fly in a flight school. I now train Sajid how to fly.
You did that as well, right?
I taught ground school. I didn't teach flight. I was teaching the theory side.
Yeah.
I teach now Sajid how to fly. The reason most people do that is because I'm building my hours. That is actually bettering my CV.
Yes.
So that now I can apply to the bigger airlines. Because the biggest thing airlines or charter operators want to see when you're applying, how many hours do you have? So if I have 200 or I have 1,000, obviously there are 1,000 guys in a better place.
He's got more calluses on his hands.
Yeah.
He's got more experience under his way. Yeah. Okay.
So there's that path. And then there's you can join either safari flying or humanitarian flying.
Yeah.
I went the humanitarian route. So I flew in South Sudan, Juba.
So delivering now UNHCR, WHO.
Precisely.
I heard they pay well.
Aid. Yeah.
So they take advantage of that pay.
So they pay you. I was lucky. I got a job that was paying my accommodation and paying me a stipend per day. That's not everyone who gets that. I was lucky. Sometimes guys go to Juba and you're literally tarmacking on a daily for a flight. Like
Jesus Christ.
So it's a tough go, but it's also a rite of passage. Most guys who are established guys, airline pilots, have gone down that path.
You've had to. Okay. So if you don't mind me cutting in, what is the pay scale? Like the ranges? What are you expecting if you do that sort of work?
Maybe 1,500 US.
Per month?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is not including the stipends and whatever they give?
That's if I add up the stipend. Because there's no salary. There's no salary. There's no this is your basic pay and then it's your stipend. However, the captain that you're flying with, because that's his main job, he's probably getting like 5K and stipend, right? So you just
how many hours does he have?
By the time he's a skipper there, maybe like 3,000.
Jesus. Okay.
He went through the exact same process.
Yes.
He's just now further down
the road.
Yeah.
Now, okay, you did that for how long?
I did that for about a year.
Okay. And you were just accumulating your hours.
Yeah.
Then after that, what was the next step? What was the transition from there?
From after Juba, I came back. I flew. I was flying a Cessna Caravan. That's a 14-seater gas turbine aircraft. Fantastic aircraft. We call it the Land Rover of flying. I came back and I was...
Meaning it always breaks down.
No, meaning it can land anywhere.
Okay.
Dirt strips.
Very tough, very rugged.
Short runway, very rugged aircraft.
Yeah.
Then I came back and I flew the same aircraft, but now for a safari company. I was actually flying one of our alumni, Fred Njoroge. Yeah, it was...
and you were doing like basically Masai Mara here and there?
Yeah, I did that for a while as well. Yeah.
Okay. And was that pay slightly better than what you were getting in Juba?
Definitely. Okay. Well, no. Actually, not.
Well, if not better, I'd say your lifestyle was better because now you're within.
I think being in Nairobi is such a plus. I always say.
Yeah.
For crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then you land down, everything is there. You're home. Juba, bana.
Hotel and that hotel. So when I got that Juba gig, I was living in a bedsitter. So I went from bedsitter noodles life. Man, let me tell you, till today I can't eat noodles. I ate so much noodles
You're just sick of it.
because I was just being an irresponsible young guy who just couldn't manage my money. I was always broke. So of course, the drink thing as well.
Yeah.
So from that, literally overnight to like 5-star hotel in Juba. Believe it or not, they do have 5-star hotels, but you'd be surprised how fast that gets old.
It does. Yeah.
By
100%.
by like day 4, you're like, oh, you're over it.
Yeah, 5-star. Yeah.
Food is boring. All food starts to taste the same. You feel like your room is a chicken coop. I really took up gymming. I lost a ton of weight. Yeah.
We'll get to fitness. Okay, so after now you come back, you do the safari links. Not safari link, but the local
Yes.
flights for safaris. What was the next step then? And this, by the way, you're still just accumulating hours. There's no other paperwork, no other licenses you're going for.
No, by this time I already had my commercial multi-instrument. So you're always you're always trying for the next best thing.
Yeah.
So in this time, of course, I'm trying the KQs. I'm trying the where I work currently. I got in where I work on my second attempt. I had tried KQ. Most people getting on their second, third attempt.
Yeah.
It's never the first go because the interview process is quite harrowing. It's a 5-phase interview process.
Can you talk about that process? What does it involve?
So when you're shortlisted, what they do is this is for KQ and also where I work, they send you what is called a psychometric evaluation online, and it's timed. So patterns, that's time to see how you think. And then there's one which is a personality test. So you have to complete those. From those, I don't know how many I've always passed. There are a lot of guys, brilliant guys who don't pass this stage. I don't know what's up. I don't know if it's panic or it's because it's timed.
Yeah.
Then after psychometric, you do a psychomotor evaluation.
Motor skills.
Yeah, so you actually go to now the facility at KQ. They have a joystick there and a computer, and there are different tests you have to do. They're all time different. One will be flying through loops. Another one, there's a guy with a...
So it's like virtual screen you're seeing there, and you're actually flying, like Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yes. But now you're flying a pointer. You're not flying a plane, you're flying a pointer through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they'll have like a guy with a triangle on one hand, a circle on the other, and then the answers are there. Is it positive left triangle? So it's supposed to say positive left triangle, meaning yes, he has a triangle.
Yes.
And then now they'll keep flipping him upside down, facing the other side. So the time keeps getting shorter and shorter. At some point now, there are shapes falling from the top, and you're trying to align them with the right color. So if it's a yellow triangle,
Like Tetris on steroids.
yeah, on steroids, man. So you have to just dig deep and focus, like dig deep, like literally.
Yeah.
That's the test. So after that, if you pass, now they call you for a flight test. Flight test is, remember what I told you I was doing earlier this week? Now they put you in the simulator, the actual simulator of like a 737 or a Q400, like what I fly. And they just want to see your basic flying skills and your instrument flying skills.
And you're doing it solo.
It's a 40-minute exercise. They'll put a safety pilot there who's an already employee of the company. And then now you're given the parameters they expect. There's a briefing. They tell you, okay, we're expecting this. They'll give you an approach plate. Okay, we're flying out of Mombasa, and I want you to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. They know you've never flown this aircraft, but they want to see
how you maneuver,
how you manage, and how you handle pressure.
Right.
Again, composure.
So pressure, like anatoa bunduki, and he pointed at it.
No, the guy, sometimes the instructor will be talking shit. I remember one of my instructors say, one of my attempts, the guy was like, it's gotta end sometime. Because if you keep messing up, he'll reposition you. It's like, I suppose it's gotta end sometime. So, but mainly composure, stay cool. And if you don't make it the first time, don't give up, man. I'm telling you, most of us didn't get in on our first attempts. That's standard ops. Yeah. Then after that, you have a panel interview. So you come and meet chief pilot, someone from HR, someone from safety, and sometimes the head of operations. So you come there, suit and tie, paperwork. But this time they've already gone through your paperwork. They know Kosawa. Now they want, who's this guy? And then now they ask you questions, personality, technical, knowledge about the law pertaining to flying. Again, composure. So for me, that was my easiest.
It seems like
panel was my easiest because it's people.
Yeah. You're good with people. You've got the people skills. But it seems like quite a lengthy process, eh?
Oh yeah.
So that's when you got in, what was that feeling like?
Oh man. When I got the email and where I work, they put the email with a smiling face and like a welcome email. Man, I was, it meant so much for me and my wife because of some of the tribulations I'd gone through before. I had a very harsh 4 years. So I was teaching in a school and I was teaching the theory side. I was teaching ground school. It doesn't attract much of a salary.
What's the salary range for that?
I was earning like 35,000, Bob.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. What do you do with 35K? Bro, that's tough.
It was very tough.
People are surviving on that, huh?
Luckily, my wife at that time had started her pupillage, so she was also earning something, you know.
It would contribute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very tough time. Like our budget, we found a piece of paper of one of our budgets the other day, and we're like, how is this our budget for groceries? Like, we can't understand, but I think survival instinct. So whilst I believe in God, right?
Yeah.
So whilst I had it was a tough time, but I learned so much. And the thing, because I was teaching, when I joined where I work, as in so many concepts were just there at my fingertips. I didn't have to go back.
Because you're practicing the theory, you're reiterating it to other people. That's the best way to understand something, right? Yeah.
Yes. And when I look back, I'm like, my entry into the airline would have been so much different had I not have been teaching. And I chalk that up to God because he prepared me, man. He chiseled me, refined my knowledge. So by the time I was ready for the opportunity, I was actually ready. So it was a big deal, man. Like of course, my wife and I were praying so hard. We were really hoping on it. She really believed in me. So once I got that email, of course, it was all elation. And I seized the opportunity as someone who had thrown away opportunities.
Yeah.
This time, because it's not just me, you know, I'm carrying someone as well. I took it with the seriousness it deserves and more. So I made sure I see all the training through, always on time, always early, put my best foot forward all through. Training was rigorous, man. You know, from flying a 14-seater to a 82-seater high-performance aircraft, very different world, very different philosophy. Training was tough. We went to Canada.
How long were you in Canada for?
A month. My training partner, now listen to this, when we were being paired, because we were hired 6 of us, so my company have a simulator in Kenya, but it's booked around the year because at any given time, there's different sets of crew doing their recurrences all through the year.
And recurrences is just to firm up when you're testing.
Yeah, every 6 months. The check I did recently.
Yeah.
So of the 6 of us, 2 guys are paired. So when you're going for training for an initial rating, you're put with a training partner. Yeah. We're both going to land this aircraft. So Sajid is my training partner. So during the training, you play the captain for 2 hours. We swap roles. I play the captain for 2 hours. But you're being trained as a first officer. So when I'm being told who my training partner is, this guy is an ex-military fighter jet pilot.
Jesus Christ.
Instructor. We joined the company together. Yeah.
Based in Kenya?
Yeah, he's an ex-Kenyan Air Force guy.
Wait.
He used to fly the F5. Shout out Fred. So I was so intimidated. I'm like, man, I was flying the caravan. I've been teaching ground school. Sijagusa ndege for so long. And I'm being given an F5 instructor. But shout out, a new aircraft is the greatest equalizer. Nothing separated us in the scene. We both had our different strengths and weaknesses, but nothing about our past experience came to play in the simulator. A new aircraft is the greatest equalizer. So, of course, we helped each other. It was a very tough, very enjoyable time. It felt like a tornado for like a whole month of just, you wake up, it's winter, you're somaing, you're in the sim, you're in class, you're in sim, check tomorrow, we're studying.
This was all paid for by your employer?
Paid for by the employer, thank God, yeah.
Hey, so they really invested in you, right?
Yeah.
And now you're a first officer.
Yes.
What can people expect? Like once you get that role, what's the pay range in different companies locally when you're first officer?
So anything from 300 to 800, depending on where you work.
So I mean, all those years then definitely pay off, right?
Yes.
Now, you're a first officer. What's the next logical step for you to grow in that path? It's to become captain.
Captain, yeah.
In order to become captain, what's the steps?
So first is the documentation. I need to get an airline transport pilot license, an ATPL.
What is that?
It's the highest license that you can hold as a pilot. So basically, again, same 8 exams, but now more in depth. I've asked, not so different from the commercial.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of hours you must also meet for you to even be allowed to do those exams.
How many hours?
1,500, of which 100 have to be night hours.
How many do you have?
I've passed now. I'm on like 1,800, and I have like 200 plus nights. So part of my plans for early this coming year is to do my exams. But I'm well below the company requirement for command. They need 3,000 hours. No, they need 4,000 hours total time.
Jesus.
3,000 hours on the aircraft. So I still have like a couple of years because those guys fly so much. I still have like maybe 2 years left.
Okay, and then from captain, I would assume that's now the highest pinnacle. That's the top of the mountain.
No. If you choose that, if you're not a crazy guy like me who podcasts on the side, and you want to just stay in aviation to train, like once I came from simulator.
How you were training up.
You have to do line training now. You're being trained on what the routes we fly,
Yeah.
You don't just come from sim and then go fly the captain. No. You fly with, initially for the first, it takes about 75 hours. Training captain, me, and another first officer in the jump seat, in case this guy has like a stroke. It can't be just me there as a trainee. Yeah.
Whoa.
So at some point we call it kicking backup. Somewhere during your line training, the captain like, this guy is sour. Your backup now is released. So now you're just flying the two of you. You do that till about 75 hours. What you're doing this time, you're covering the routes. The guy keeps asking you questions on the aircraft. He wants to know how well you know. He'll tell you, describe the hydraulic system, and you must be able to. Describe the electrical system. Describe all the fire protection. What safety equipment do we have? Describe automation. What automation do we have? What are our routes? What does the route information guide say about Malindi? So they want to test, what does our manual say? So it's a very intense period. The most intense thing I've gone through in a short of addiction in terms of normal life. Hardest thing I've ever gone through. I had to really dig deep to finish that, to see that through. It was 2 months, but the longest 2 months I've gone through. Yeah,
but you're enjoying it, Eric. That's the main thing, right?
Once I finished, now normal line flying becomes very enjoyable. That I love.
Do you have ambitions now to scale that? Obviously, I want to see captain.
Captain for sure.
And captain now, what type of planes are you flying at that scale?
Right now, I fly the Dash 8 Q400 aircraft. Fantastic machine.
So local flights mostly.
Local. We also go to Goma. We go to Zanzibar as well. We used to go to Entebbe up until recently.
Nikulize, so let's say you're doing Zanzibar. When you land there, do you stay the night and come back, or you come back the same day?
No. How us guys are set up, we don't have the layover side of flying. So typically I'll fly 4 sectors in a day. So I'll fly to Malindi, come back to Jomo, fly to Mombasa, come back to Jomo, and then go home. Right?
It's a long day.
Yeah, so it's I'll say your crewmates also make the day. So depending on who you're paired with, a lot of the time will determine how the day goes. So in my company, man, our median age is 35.
Okay, so young guys.
So flying is a joy.
Joy, yeah.
We really enjoy it, actually. So my company, of course, we adhere to all the regulations about fatigue management and crew resting time. So the max I'll fly is 5 days.
Straight back to back.
And those 5 days, only 2 early mornings. So they know how you have to balance. You can't just have it every day 4 a.m. waking up.
No, but your sleep schedule must be messed up then.
Yeah, your circadian rhythm goes out the window. With the kind of work I do, your sleep pattern, my wife is always laughing at how, it's like, you guys, your sleep pattern doesn't make sense. That's why I can call you at 1.
Yeah.
But
does it? I mean, but you have to ensure you get your 7 to 8 hours. I'm assuming, so you're functional, right?
In aviation, rest is an intentional endeavor. Yeah.
And how are you managing all this with the podcast?
I
know the answer already, being we're in the same position, but I just want the audience for you to tell them.
So of course, I say I'm an ambitious guy. I have big dreams, and I know big dreams take sacrifice. So on my off day, I don't look at podcasting as work. I love doing this. I'm having such a good time. This does not feel like work to me.
True.
Right. So instead of just on my off day, just my feet up, I'll try make sure either I'm podding or I've called my team and we're creating a plan for the next, always trying to improve upon. So I'm still well within my rests. There's no time I've impinged on my rests.
It doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like work.
And that's the main thing, right?
Yeah.
When it starts to feel like work, then you sort of have to sit back and assess. I have a suggestion, bro. In fact, I was thinking, is it possible for us to do a podcast on air when we're flying?
I'm releasing that in 2 weeks. Not really a podcast, but by way of GoPro, I asked some questions with my colleague in flight who I'm going to interview in the coming weeks.
You're releasing that?
Yeah.
That'll be pretty interesting, man.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to sort of touch back on was we talked about fitness, yeah? I know at one point in time they were like pressuring you to do your health checkup. Is that very critical for being a pilot?
I just came back from, when was that? 2-3 days ago, I just did my yearly medical. Obviously, I'm not at my optimum. I should be a lot lighter by way of my BMI. So the doctor let me have it for like 30 minutes, This, and of course, this time, because last year we had some targets, I undershot by quite a bit. At least I didn't go past. But the target I had to lose, I barely met it. So he's given me one more shot at it. And of course, he told me next year around he will not be as lenient. So I took that with all the seriousness. And for me, that's the last.
What's the target now?
I don't want to be specific. I don't get to calculate my weight.
We're men, man. plus Eric, you're like 6'4", man.
What I'll say is, for me, that's my last frontier in terms of things I want to conquer. I feel like I've conquered maturity. I've conquered sobriety. I've conquered generally being a good guy, being an upstanding citizen. Now my last frontier is my health, optimizing my health.
I'm going to try and ask you two things that tie into that, all right? First is, do you think when you gave up the alcohol, food took over? Because it's sort of like how smokers who always need something, they start having nibbles and they put on weight. Did that happen for you?
So for me, when I quit, because around the time I quit alcohol, I quit cigarettes. So there's a direct correlation with me ballooning again when I quit smoking cigarettes.
I can understand that. Secondly, the question I wanted to ask was, what's your opinion on keto? Because you did it for 3 months.
People are different, but for me, not sustainable. Because I lost so much weight in 6 weeks. And then
thank you.
The moment I ate normally again.
Look, weight loss is all about sustainability, right? Because eating healthy and living healthy, it's life. You want to stretch it out, not over 6 months period and then go fuck off to do what you want, but you want to do it over the longevity of your career. What's the most sustainable thing? Keto is not sustainable, right? Keto, you're already distancing yourself as a part of society. When you go out and like, I can only eat meat, I can only do this, I can only do that. My recommendation for you and what genuinely worked for me when I did it and could help me sustain was flexible dieting. It's simply the notion of, when it comes to body composition, not your sugar levels and so on and so, but body compositioning, which means a calorie at the end of the day is a calorie, whether it comes from a Snicker bar or whether it comes from whole wheat. And in body composition and fat loss, ultimately, the true equation that works is, as long as you're eating less and doing more, you're going to lose weight.
The deficit, huh?
The deficit, right? You're creating the deficit. But how you get that deficit doesn't matter. So ideally, let's say you have 2,000 calories to play with. What, if it fits your macros and flexible dieting does for you, is it helps you integrate into society well. So let's say your first 3 meals that you're taking can be grilled chicken and vegetables, grilled chicken and steak, and very, very healthy. The remaining, let's say, 20% or 30% of your calories, you can have what you want, as long as it fits into your overall calories. So when you go out, you can have a burger, right, with some fries that equate into that, but you're still at the deficit level. So mentally, you're keeping yourself stable, and physically, you're still abiding by the laws and principles of fat loss. And that's why I feel for you, that would be best. Obviously, there's some people who take it and run with it and like, I can eat a Snicker bar for 3 out of meals.
I think you're absolutely right about how that would probably be optimum. My only question would be, how do you track every single meal?
Here's the thing. Now, you have to make an initial effort, like with anything. You didn't get your pilot's license just by playing video games,
My
right?
doctor said that.
Exactly.
He was like, losing weight is
I was
easier than
I was in
becoming
the
a
room,
pilot.
bro. I was also in the same room. Look, it's an effort. Anything that requires sustenance and longevity and that you want to be proud of, you have to put in the initial effort. What I did initially was I carried around a mini weighing scale. All right. And the way, let's describe my 2000 calories. So I'd get up in the morning, I'd break 4 eggs, measure that. And there's an app called MyFitnessPal that has all these things.
Yes.
So whole eggs, 50 grams, it tells you what the calories are. Toast, you measure the toast. Brown bread, you put it inside. You want a cheese slice, 2 cheese slices, you scan the barcode on the product, it inputs it. That's your first meal. Second meal, I'd boil vegetables, putting on the measuring scale. I'd grill chicken, put it on the measuring scale. I'd add ketchup, measure that again. So you're measuring everything. And then the third meal would be, let's say, oats and whey protein and peanut butter. Again, you can measure all those. And then the last meal of the day would be a whey protein powder and a Snicker bar. And all those have barcodes. If you scan with the app, they just integrate it into your daily totals. So it'll give you your totals, and every time you scan and add something, it just starts filling up.
Mm. So you know when you need to cut it out.
When you do this long enough, now when you go to a restaurant, you can actually see food and guesstimate how much it is. But also you have to have some guiding philosophies and principles. Single ingredient food works best. If you go and order spaghetti carbonara, how the fuck do you know what the guy put into that? But if you order a grilled chicken burger, it's basically bun, grilled chicken, you can accommodate for 20 grams mayo, 20 grams ketchup, 1 slice of cheese. You're within that range of guesstimating. And it still helps you do that. As long as you're not doing it every day, it's sustainable.
Can I go on record and give you my word that I know you're a UFC guy, but I want to take up boxing. And I want to take up boxing not because I want to get a head injury, not because I want to spar or anything, but I want to use the cardio attached to boxing because it's a bit diverse. The skipping, I want to take up boxing. I just don't know where can I take up boxing? And do I have to buy equipment for myself? Like
Ultra Fitness Gym, all right? They're an MMA-based gym. Obviously, I train with a coach that goes there and works in different gyms as well. Coach Mary, you know? But Ultra Fitness...
The guy who had you lying on the floor.
Yes. I'd say don't just focus on boxing, but focus on mixed martial arts. Because the truth is, when it comes to a street fight, the guy who knows how to use his legs, his elbows, his arms is more dangerous and more well-protected, right? The thing is, if someone goes to kick you and kick your ribs, as a boxer, there's some sort of... I mean, obviously you can dodge that, but someone goes for your calves and sort of...
Your shins.
Your shins. I think MMA is more tied to what you want to do. But if you go to Ultra Fitness, I think they can work with you. They have coaches, they have classes, you can do private one-on-one sessions. They've got all the equipment, so you don't need to come in. You just use their gloves, you use their shin
How does
guards.
that work when it comes to like hygiene or like a glove?
Okay, it stinks. I'll say this, but
Do you have to wrap your hands?
Yeah, you have to get so those you obviously get yourself. What's recommended is you get your own gloves and you get your own hand wraps. And with Decathlon, these things are easily accessible. And you clean and sanitize them. They have the stuff that they sanitize, but the thing is, it's like 100 guys are using that same glove. It's not something that you'd be comfortable with. Shin guards are different, right? Shin guards, you just find the ones that fit you and they're all over there. What I'd recommend is you get your gloves, you get your hand wraps, and then you're sorted out.
Typically, how long is a session?
1 hour. The thing is, when I did my first session, I couldn't keep up for 30 minutes because the cardiovascular demand of that is off the charts. And that's when you realize how bodybuilding is useless. Because the jamas who look like librarians who can pinduka you and throw you out the window, even though you're building the muscle. So it's all it's not superficial, it's hyper-functional, right? And again, it depends on your cardiovascular activity.
And I love the high from cardio, man. I love the high. Once you get fit,
it's amazing. So here's the thing I'd recommend for you. First of all, you want to grow your muscle mass. With your height and your structure, I think that would be incredibly easy. And then you sort of do that cardiovascular activity. Forget running. Try and do this sort of cardio where you're also strengthening your muscle base, but you're working on your reflexes. You're working on your agility. Yeah,
because I can't afford to have my job. I can't have at least my face. I can't have
obviously it's within reason. Like I have a bit of an ego, so what happens is when I'm light sparring and the guy catches me, I'm like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna get you now," and then that's when it gets intense. You have to check your ego at the door. That's one thing. It's a completely humbling experience. Like how flying a new plane, it equates. It's fighting also tells you who's who. Because you can think you're a hotshot at a club, but then if you meet a guy who's trained opponent, he can show you actually you're not. So it really puts you in place. I'd recommend doing 1 hour. And then what they do is they don't start you off with sparring immediately. You have to first work on your footwork. You have to get your cardio up. They then work with different combos. And then as you progress, the combos get more complicated. The cardio gets more intense. And then they put you in a simulation of sort. Because when you're punching a pad, it's very different when someone's going to hit you back. Because punching a pad, you can do it, you can make it look very sexy. You can do the 1, 2, 3. Like that thing comes.
What
here.
about the cost implication?
He charges anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 per session, right? But it's completely dedicated MMA. Umer is, I think, purple or blue. He's quite. He does wrestling. He does jiu-jitsu. He does quite a lot. But at the gym, they're also, I'd say, very competent MMA fighters who can train you, and it can go anywhere from 1,000 bob to 2,000 bob per session. Or you can do the group classes, which is even cheaper. But what I'd recommend is at least for the first 3 months, you get someone who
Can I get someone to come to my place?
Yeah, there are a lot of people, bro.
I think that I buy like 1 or 2
There's a guy called Ronald who does boxing purely. He was charging me 1,000 bob a session.
That's good.
And he
Like,
comes to you.
proper workout, huh?
Proper workout. You get worn out.
So, okay, you'll school me on what I need to buy. I think
Yeah.
I'll probably go there because also ultra fitness is far. I have to think about so many moving parts.
Yeah.
If I can get someone who can come to my place
Yeah.
and I pay them to train me,
Yeah.
and someone who can still hold me to account, like your boss.
I'll hook you up with these guys. There are quite a few guys.
Okay.
In fact, Umer has a bunch of fighters who are now become coaches. I can link you up with them as well. And they're very good. Here's the thing. I'll just say, nothing changes if nothing changes.
So,
Right? You need to make that effort. You need to get your ass to the gym. Start with that, bro. When was the last time you worked out?
worked out proper months ago, like a proper workout. I was in the gym.
Eric, apana.
Months.
You know, you're putting so much effort in your work, in your hobbies. If you're not putting that stuff in your physical self, it's like something's out of tune. You're playing a guitar that's out of tune, and you know you need to put in that effort.
Know.
You with a six-pack and in great shape, your life, your career, your personal relations, I think will all scale to a different level, and that's a constant reminder. I think we also have that weakness where sometimes when we're tired, our escape is food, right? Our escape is just being comfortable. Because if you've flown like a whole day, those 4 flights you're doing, the last thing you want to do is, bro,
a pat on the back.
exactly.
By a burger.
You know, Jumia, Uber Eats, those pizzas, extra cheese.
F Uber Eats, man. Those guys are too convenient, man.
The thing
It's too
completely
convenient.
screwed everything.
There's a burger joint I went to the other day.
Drip burgers.
Marty's.
Where's that?
I went to their on-site location and I realized what they're doing. So it's not really a joint like a Burger King.
Yeah.
Bro, it's industrial level deliveries. Like that's all that's the specialty.
So it's like a ghost kitchen, no?
Yeah.
You've heard about the concept of ghost
yeah.
kitchens. They're quite a lot
But
popping
also
up, right?
in mass. Like really big, large scale. So I was shocked. I went, this is your operation. And then the guy recognizes me. He gave me a brownie as I know your podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, right? Getting recognized. But your future now, Eric, what's it look like? Because you've got the podcast, you've got your career, physical.
That's the last frontier, like I said. In fact, I mean, I know, I'm very well aware. It looms. I'm very well aware that that's somewhere in my life that I'm not happy about and I need to improve and do a complete 180 overhaul. I'm aware my wife is always in my ear. She's made such tremendous efforts in her own life in terms of from someone who was a zero workout, now she has a whole workout regiment, and here I am. You know, it's almost ridiculous. The fact that my wife is working out, it's actually very funny. So I know this is my last.
How's your diet when you fly?
I try not to eat plain food. It's quite monotonous.
You can carry your own food though, right?
I most days I don't eat at work. I'll have my coffee. Most days I don't eat at work. I eat at home.
So you're fasting throughout.
Yeah. A lot of times
maybe that's now an issue because when you come home, you're starving.
Yeah.
And you just reach out for the first thing you eat.
That's definitely part and parcel.
Can you pre-pack food and take it with you?
You can.
And they can warm it up for you on the plane as well?
Yeah.
There's an app called Avatar Nutrition or Carbon Coach. I use Carbon. I've got a personal trainer, but what it does is it asks you to input your details, your body weight, your height, your activity levels, and then it gives you a set amount of calories, all right? And then it asks you to track. And then you have to do daily weigh-ins, daily input of your... You see, these are the calories. the way it looks.
Mm.
In fact, we can screen record for the thing here. You just put in whatever you need to eat, and then it says these are the numbers you need to hit every day. And then when you do a check-in, you check in with your weight. So it takes your average for the week, because every day it's trying to create for you a deficit. If you lose weight, if you increase weight, it adjusts your calories and gives you a new target to hit.
You'll send me that one.
Yeah, it's called Carbon. There's Avatar Nutrition as well. They're both $9 a month, which again, compared to hiring a personal nutritionist,
It's a lot fairer.
yeah. And then it guides you on your principles. It tells you you need to increase your activity, you need to do
What
this.
about IF? Does IF work?
IF?
Intermittent fasting.
It does help with controlling your sugar. But you see, intermittent fasting is simply delaying your food intake to a certain point where the logic behind it is the sugar gets absorbed quicker in your blood
Yeah.
stream, right? And so when it comes to fat loss, glycogen is not accessed, but fat reserves are. And so it tries to control your sugar levels and bring it down to a point where it's so less that when your body starts churning out and looking for energy, it goes to your fat loss stores first. It has helped with my sugar levels, because I was pre-diabetic, so my levels were like 7 mmol. When I started intermittent fasting, it went down to 4.3, and it really helped with the fat loss as well. But it just takes your calories to a later date. So if you're eating, let's say, 3 meals spread out over 12 hours, this one just pushes everything to like a 4-hour window. If you're doing the 18 and 4, 6, 16. I mean, it helps, but don't complicate it, bro. Just create a deficit. Start with this, start working out, and then measure your weight every day.
Okay.
I think those will be the principles, right?
I think what I'm likely to do from what you said, I'm gonna get a PT, and I'm gonna do the macro where I actually track exactly what I eat.
I've sent you the videos. There's a bit of a watch. Just watch that. I think by the end of it, you'll understand what if it fits your macro means and what the guiding philosophies are for nutrition. Then you just need to be making sure that you're burning calories every day. If you throw everything at it, you're doing cardio 6 times a week, you're training 6 times a week. And yes, you lose fat initially. You plateau because your body has adapted to that stimulus. So you need to do more or eat much less. The guiding solution principle should be you do as little as possible to ensure that you lose the most amount of weight. So that means if my starting calories are 2,000 and I'm working out 3 times a week, if I lose 1 pound, that's working. Continue with that notion. If I stop losing 1 pound, then okay, I have a decision to make. Do I go from 2,000 calories to 1,800 calories, or do I add 1 more day of training or 2 more days of training to get that same fat loss? So you take it bit by bit. And your body eventually adapts. That's when you get to a plateau where you reverse diet and get your calories back up while sustaining the same weight. But that's a whole other conversation, you know?
Sounds like you have this thing down pegged, bro. I think you've gone through the different
I have,
attempts.
bro. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like my first major transformation was just by eating tuna and rice cakes. And that's
For how long?
For like a year.
Tuna and rice cakes for a year.
Oh, man. It was no sugar, no carbs.
That must have sucked at some point.
But I think
keto,
I just had youth energy behind it, you know?
So keto, why it got boring, because typically you end up eating chicken and egg and, veg. And at some point, you don't even want to see chicken.
You're tired of it, right?
Like
You're bored of it. So with that same, because I tried that as well, where it's just meat, little vegetables. I remember my boys used to make fun of me because I used to bring tuna cans every day and rice cakes. There was once when I ran away from home, the only thing I took were tuna cans and rice cake.
But they say utamu wa chakula ni starch.
Exactly.
So you can have a nice steak, but
you need a bit of it. So life is about balance, right? And you have to think about long term. How can you end up going the furthest? It's by if it fits your macros, because you find a balance. But you also have to have that restriction, which then helps, yeah? So Kaka, as we wind things down, what are the plans for every other time with Erik?
So every other time with Erik, of course, I always say is my digital shamba. So right now I'm just gardening, pruning, just like a shamba. Start with 1 acre, eventually hope to have a large scale and operation going. So just tending to it, continuing to shoot episodes. My Airman series, every other time with Erik on YouTube, by there, if you want to go check that out.
We'll link it in the description as well.
Just keep doing it the best way I can. I really enjoy the journey. I love doing podcasts. So every day is just to try and improve upon, and also give my work the best. Just keep giving my day job also the best that I can, and I think I've been doing that consistently now.
How many episodes are you in with every other time?
I've done now 24.
Okay.
24.
And you're trying to pump out how many episodes a week?
The plan is by January to be able to do 2 a week, to pump out, or rather have two ready per week.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I've figured out how to do that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about, by the way, do you find TikTok and all these, do they boost traffic to the...
Sometimes, and no disrespect to TikTok, I have a video with like 700,000 views. I have, what I tend to find about TikTok, it's more like, it's a different crowd. And someone actually taught me the different social media platforms. Every audience is very different.
True.
I tend to imagine the YouTube subscriber is one of the most quality subscriber you can have vis-a-vis TikTok. TikTok it's very easy to get excited, but it's not as tangible as even say Instagram. Main focus right now is YouTube. I'm gonna start putting my episodes on Spotify in audio.
You haven't done that yet?
I haven't done that yet. So
like the video or audio?
Audio.
Okay.
Audio.
Yeah, you should do that, bro.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things, because people also...
There's a science to that, though. You don't just... If you're trying to grow a YouTube, you don't just multi-platform yourself.
But just Apple Podcasts and YouTube, right? I think that's the basic.
Yes, but there's a science to how you do that, which I'll tell you off air.
So...
Yeah, because you don't... unless you've grown to the point you're like a Joe Rogan, you can just put everything out together. Now, people of YouTube will find you on YouTube, people of Spotify. But if you're still trying to grow specifically a YouTube, sometimes you have to kind of favor that child.
Right.
Yeah.
Before publishing everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So sometimes that's by way of delaying.
Okay.
So
okay.
2 weeks later, things like that.
Makes sense. I think before we wind things down, is there anything else you want to talk about, bro?
That's it. I think just thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. I love Coffee Pump. I love what you're doing. You also inspire me. I know you were saying that you have all the attributes you describe that I have: diction, good knowledge base, hardworking guy.
One of the things we'd say is how we have our circle of nights, right? You're one of them. We're definitely going to do this again. We're definitely going to make a series out of us having conversation. In fact, I wanted to do like a UFC. You watch UFC, right?
But I would be terrible at commentating.
So, bro, I think once we get a better studio, just whatever's playing in the background.
It's a nice studio, man. I mean, it's a nice studio.
But it's also, the goal is to have the podcast become like a hangout place.
Yeah.
What that means is, let's say Friday night, we're not doing anything. So you guys fika. The podcast is there. Something's going on. We're watching. It's just casual conversation. It doesn't have to be specifically about something. And I think that's what people like, is the camaraderie and the conversations in those moments.
And for your viewers, Sajid is actually one of my cohort of repeat guests on Every Other Time with Erik, man. We established that. So we'll be seeing us together for many years to come.
For sure, inshallah. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. It's been great having you on.
Thank you so much, man.
Guys, we'll catch you in the next podcast. Hope you enjoyed this one. Like, share, and subscribe.